Good afternoon. I'm 14 First Alert meteorologist Arden Gregory here with your afternoon update. We are on alert again tonight and tomorrow for the possibility of more strong to severe storms, and that does include a threat of flooding, gusty winds, hail, and maybe even more tornadoes. And we've already had our fair share of tornadoes the past couple of days, particularly Union County. So before we look ahead to this forecast, I do want to take just one brief moment to reflect on Friday and sort of catch everyone up to date. If you're not already aware, there were several tornadoes across the region, but actually within the tri-state, we ended up having two tornadoes on Friday. There was one in Gallatin County, Illinois, and then one in Union County, Kentucky. The one in Gallatin County was an EF2 with peak winds of 115 miles per hour. It was on the ground for about 10 miles with a width of 250 yards. Now, the larger, more destructive tornado was in Union County. That was an EF3 with peak winds of 155 miles an hour. It was also on the ground for about 10 miles, but it was twice as wide with 500-yard width at its widest point. As it passed just along the south side of Morganfield there, it did cross Highway 130, US 60, and 56. So there are a lot of, neighborhoods and people in that area there on the south side of Morganfield, and there's a lot of destruction down that way. Jamie French, who's from Morganfield in Union County, has been down there bringing us live reports all day long, and she's down there talking with people right now. The good news is, although there were some minor injuries, no one was killed here locally by these tornadoes. We do obviously know that in other parts of Kentucky that was not the case. London, Kentucky, also badly hit by a tornado that same night, and several people are dead there. So we'll have the very latest on all of that recovery and, and just coverage from the devastation down that way from Friday night throughout our newscast tonight at 4, 5, 6, and 10. But for now, let's move forward and talk about what weather we still have ahead of us, because we do still have more storms on the way. Here's a look what's going on right now. Mostly sunny across the tri-state, but if you look off to the west, there are storms, even severe storms, firing up across parts of Kansas and Oklahoma down into Texas, and this whole weather system is moving to the east. So right now here locally, it is mostly sunny. There are some clouds off to the southwest that are moving in, so we will see more clouds as we go through this afternoon and evening. This model is hinting at the possibility that those clouds may eventually develop into one or two isolated thunderstorms. That's a possibility, but it looks like it would be very spotty if that were to occur. So for most of us, I think we'll probably stay dry this evening, but there is that chance that we could get an isolated thunderstorm, and if we do, that possibility it could become severe. But really the alert for today is for very late tonight, not during the day today. Mainly after midnight tonight, I'd say probably closer to 2 or 3 a.m. is when we see those storms finally starting to reach the tri-state. Scattered thunderstorms late tonight into very early Tuesday morning. Looks like this will be mainly from about 2, 3 a.m. up until about 6 or 7 a.m. So sort of crossing right over into that overnight to early morning hours there. And again, there's that chance some of those storms could be severe, but they will have weakened dramatically by the time they get to us. We then get a break from the storms through the middle of Tuesday morning, but then the storms fire back up around lunchtime on Tuesday, continuing into Tuesday afternoon. So from about midday on Tuesday through the afternoon, that's our best chance of seeing severe weather across the tri-state. Those storms look like they'll probably push off to the east and be out of here for the most part by about the evening commute on Tuesday. We may then see another round of showers and storms Tuesday night, but I'm not sure how much energy would be left in the atmosphere by that point. So I think for many of us, there's probably not going to be a severe weather threat Tuesday night. I think by then everything will be pretty worked over, but we may still get a few more showers. Then those clear out of here through Tuesday night, and by Wednesday, I think we're all in the clear and even mostly sunny. So that's a look at the timeline. We'll talk about the threats in just a second. Ashlyn already asking, do I think it will be as bad as Friday? I'm going to go with no, but keep in mind, if we do get a tornado anywhere in the tri-state during the day tomorrow on Tuesday, for those people, it will be worse than it was on Friday because they didn't get a tornado on Friday and they did get one on Tuesday. You know what I mean? So I don't see the widespread threat, the concern across our entire region the way we did on Friday. It's a lower threat, but that possibility of a tornado is still there. So I wouldn't rule it out for sure, but we're not at that level 4 threat that we were on Friday. For those of you asking about timing, again, tomorrow morning, I think we're okay up until about lunchtime. By midday, those storms start to fire back up, and then it'll mainly from about lunchtime through Tuesday afternoon that we see those storms. Here's a look at the risk level. This is for tonight. We're at a level 1 risk. I know this says Monday, but keep in mind this is a 24-hour outlook, so it goes from this morning all the way up through tomorrow morning. So this level 1 risk, it's for those overnight storms as much as it is for anything that would happen today. During the day today, those storms will be mainly off to the west. Remember, we mentioned we already have storms firing across Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas in that area highlighted in that big red bullseye. That's where we were on Friday. We're not looking at that same risk level this time around, but some severe storms still certainly possible. So as these slide eastward this evening and into the overnight hours, they won't reach the tri-state until very late tonight or even very early tomorrow morning. Like I said, we're looking at about 2 to 7 a.m. as the window for those storms. So by the time they've reached us, they will have weakened significantly, but we are still at that level 1 risk as an isolated strong to severe storm, still possible late tonight into early tomorrow. Tuesday is really the bigger threat, though. Notice the greater risk of severe weather is across the south. The whole state of Tennessee really lit up in that orange color, but it does reach into parts of the tri-state. That level 3 risk does include Hopkins, McLean, Ohio, and Muhlenberg counties. The rest of the tri-state sitting at that level 2 risk. So scattered to numerous severe storms possible on Tuesday, just depending on how everything comes together. And again, this would be from about lunchtime through Tuesday afternoon. Looking at the individual threats now, we'll start with tonight. Tonight, we're sitting at a level 2, a 15% risk of seeing flooding, then a 5% risk of wind and hail with a 2% risk of tornadoes. So across the board, our risk level is low, but not 0. So wind, hail, tornadoes, all possible, but the chances of that are very low. Heavy rain, the most likely threat with those storms tonight, as it does look like they'll have quite a bit of moisture in them. Tuesday, that's the greater risk. We're looking at, again, a 15% risk of flooding, but then also a 15 to even 30% risk of wind, a 15% risk of hail, and then a 5 to 10% risk of tornadoes. But notice across western Kentucky, where we have that level 3 risk, there's also that hatching running through the map. We know, from Friday, those hatch marks mean a significant risk. So EF2 or greater tornadoes possible within that area there in western Kentucky, then stretching down into Tennessee. So most of that will probably stay south of the tri-state. We're sort of on the northern edge of that, but there is still that possibility of those significant tornado threats. So again, the risk for tonight, very low, but it's still a possibility. Better chance tomorrow, hail and heavy rain both possible. The more likely concerns is that possibility of damaging wind gusts and maybe some tornadoes with EF2 or greater tornadoes possible, mainly on the southern end of the tri-state and then stretching down into Tennessee. So again, there is that risk of severe weather on Tuesday. I also mentioned that possibility of flooding both tonight and tomorrow. It looks like these storms may be capable of producing some very heavy rainfall. So we could be talking about just torrential downpours at times as these are moving through. In total, between tonight and tomorrow, much of the tri-state may end up picking up 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. That's quite a bit of rain in a fairly short period of time. So especially if you're going to be out on the roads, be on the lookout for some flooding along the roadways, especially if you're going to be out during the storms on Tuesday afternoon or even right after those storms have moved out. There may be some flooding on the roadways there. So we didn't have a big flooding risk with the last round of storms that moved through. Slightly different story this time around. Let's see if I have any more questions as that kind of sums up what I've got on those storms. Hannah asking about the tornado risk for any storms that pop up this evening. I would not rule that out, but again, the chances of storms at all this evening is pretty low. So we may get an isolated shower or thunderstorm this evening. If they really are able to tap into that energy, we could see even a severe thunderstorm. And with any storms that develop, I wouldn't rule out a tornado right now, but the chances of that very low. Really, if we're going to see any severe weather over the next, few hours, I think it would be very, very late tonight into early tomorrow morning. If we're going to see tornadoes, the better risk of that, or the more likely risk, I should say, is tomorrow from about midday through the afternoon. That's really where we're looking at that window for severe weather. But I wouldn't rule it out, but it's unlikely, to answer your question, Hannah. Stephanie Houchins asking about rainfall. There it is, 2 to 3 inches of rain. Most of us highlighted in that purple color there, so probably closer to 2, but some totals as high as 3 inches, certainly a possibility. Anywhere you see those red colors showing up there, especially seeing that elevated risk of seeing some rainfall totals closer to 3 inches. Kevin asking if we need to stay up late. It'll probably be very late tonight, and it is a very isolated risk. So my advice to you would be have a way to receive warnings that would wake you up just in case. If you have the 14 First Alert app with those alerts turned on, as long as you have your phone on ring, don't leave it on silent, it'll make a nice loud noise that should wake you up. So I would say just make sure you've got your alerts turned on and put your phone ringer on loud, and then you should be safe to go on to bed tonight. And if there's a warning for your location, it'll wake you up. But again, we're only at a level 1 risk. Not that we can't have tornadoes in a level 1 risk, but it's an isolated chance. So I don't want you to stay up all night long and it ends up being just some garden variety run-of-the-mill thunderstorms, and now you're running on no sleep for no reason. But I also don't want you to go to bed as if nothing's going to happen and then sleep through a tornado warning, right? So we've got to find some balance in life here. So let's do our best to just go to bed with the things in place. Have some shoes that you can find easily in case you do have to run into that safe space, but I would say the chances of that are fairly low. So keep yourself covered by having those alerts turned on and your phone on ring so that you will get woke up by that First Alert app if a warning is issued. But if a warning's not issued, then you can sleep peacefully and worry about the storms tomorrow afternoon instead. So I hope that answers your question. All right, let's move on and look ahead a little bit farther, because I know also we've got graduations and we've got Memorial Day weekend coming up. A lot of folks have questions about the more extended forecast, so let's touch on that as well. I want to talk about temperatures for just a second. It is very warm out there today. We're sitting in the low 80s right now, and that's probably where we'll be for most of the next couple of hours. Then we'll slowly start to fall back through the 80s and into the 70s this evening. Again, there is that isolated chance we could get a pop-up thunderstorm this evening, but for most of us, the rain won't hit until very late tonight after 2 or 3 a.m. into early tomorrow morning, with temperatures dipping into the mid to upper 60s. And even then, that risk of severe weather is a level 1 out of 5. So an isolated severe storm is possible late tonight into early tomorrow morning, but the better risk of storms is during the day on Tuesday. Tuesday, it's going to be warm and breezy, warm air flowing in from the south-southwest, temperatures climbing into the low 80s. Then we've got those thunderstorms rolling through from about lunchtime through Tuesday afternoon, with that level 2 to level 3, depending on your location, level 2 to level 3 risk that we could see severe storms, including very heavy rain, damaging wind gusts, some hail, and even tornadoes. Now, moving beyond that, though, we really turn things out really nicely. So I know that we do have a lot of folks graduating, especially as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday, I think those storms will probably be out of here for those evening graduations for the most part, but maybe have a rain plan just in case, because we may still get some more scattered rain Tuesday night, even if it's not severe. Wednesday and Thursday, though, any outdoor plans, need to mow your grass, things like that. Today, very isolated. I think we'll probably be okay. Tuesday's the day I'm worried about storms. Wednesday, Thursday, we're in the clear. Few clouds, but I doubt we'll see any rain, and it's also going to be much cooler. Our temperatures typically top out in the upper 70s this time of year. Once those storms move through on Tuesday, much cooler, drier air takes over. We're looking at highs in the lower 70s on Wednesday. Then we may only get into the mid 60s on Thursday, so a big cool down. We then very slowly start to creep our way back into the 70s then for the end of the week and into Memorial Day weekend there. Saturday specifically for folks who are asking about graduations and things like that, partly cloudy, most likely dry with a high around 70. By Memorial Day, I think we'll be in the mid 70s, but again, typically this time of year we'd be in the upper 70s or even low 80s. As we look beyond that, from Tuesday, May 27th up through June 2nd, the general outlook, the general trend is toward those temperatures staying below average with above average precipitation. So we may be a while before we get any sort of real pool weather. I know that oftentimes the pools and whatnot all open on Memorial Day. Weather looks a little iffy for that this year, and it may still stay a little cooler and a little more damp than on even through the end of the month and into the start of June. Keep in mind it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be cool, but when your highs are normally around 80, even mid 70s would be below average, even though that's very nice weather. So something to keep in mind for that. So let's see if we've got any other questions. I know exactly what you're talking about, Jennifer. Just so you know, she said nothing like waking up to Jeff Lyons hollering in the middle of the night. There is a setting on that First Alert app where it's Jeff Lyons' voice saying, that weather alert has been issued for your location. You can adjust that and make it like an alarm sound or something like that if you don't like that, but it's certainly startling. It'll get you up out of bed, the sound of Jeff Lyons' voice booming over your phone in the middle of the night. And yeah, it seems like most folks are there are a lot of people with a lot of plans this week. Like I said, we've got a lot of graduations this week, school coming to an end, headed into a holiday weekend. So a lot of things that the weather could impact. So you definitely want to keep it tuned to 14 News. Again, have that 14 First Alert app if you don't already have it. I'm not just saying that because I work here. We don't get anything for promoting that app. I use it personally. It's a really good tool, and we send alerts out through that all the time to keep you up to date, maybe in between newscasts and things like that, so that you're still aware of the weather. So definitely get that app if you don't already have it. I'm not seeing any more questions, so hopefully everyone is sort of familiar now with the forecast for the next couple of days. We do have that chance of some thunderstorms tonight, mainly from 2 to 7 a.m. And level 1 risk that we could see an isolated severe storm, but in general things will be weakening by the time they get to us. Tomorrow is the bigger threat from about lunchtime through the afternoon. We have scattered severe storms possible that may be capable of producing very heavy rain, damaging winds, hail, and tornadoes. So wherever you're going to be during the day on Tuesday, make sure you have a way to receive those warnings. Keep your TV or radio on, have that 14 First Alert app, some way where you're staying informed about the weather throughout the day. Once we get those storms out of here Tuesday night though, cool, partly to mostly sunny, dry through the end of the week and even into the start of the weekend. I do think we may see some scattered showers as we get into Sunday and Memorial Day, so keep that in mind. I know a lot of folks make outdoor plans on Memorial Day. It does look like we might get some rain. I don't see any severe weather threat at this time, but it does look like it'll be a little cooler than you would maybe expect for Memorial Day. Looks like we may have some scattered rain around, so whatever plans you have for Memorial Day, if they're outdoors, go ahead and be thinking now about how you would maybe move things inside and adjust if things do get a little bit rainy on Monday. So something to be prepared for there. All right, I hope that answers everyone's questions. Everyone stay weather aware and up to date. Jeff Lyons will be back on here tonight with the 14 First Alert Weather Show on all our streaming platforms at 9. If there are any changes, upgrades, updates, changes in timing, anything like that over the next 6 hours, he will have the very latest information for you tonight at 9. And if you have any additional questions, he can also answer those then as well. So I hope you'll join Jeff tonight at 9 and keep it tuned, as the entire 14 First Alert weather team will be working very hard over the next couple of days to make sure we keep everyone safe and track those storms however they may play out as they move into the tri-state. All right, everybody have a great rest of your day, and watch Jeff tonight at 9. Have a good one, y'all.